Coming up in the LCS Preview Show, we talk rotating rosters, clock-busting games, and take you for a trip into Fantasyland where we will tickle your fantasy points. Don't touch anything. The LCS Preview Show starts right now.
There is Frogger going in, but Frogger will be hunted down. Sullivan down towards Tam. This is surely the game for Rocket.
Going for a kill. Oh, what an amazing play. Kiwi can roam down to the top lane. Well set by Dignitas.
You just keep chasing him. Check for our down.
And just like that, Fnatic turn it on. They're going to go on another win streak. Oh, there they go for it! Robert!
Oh my God, they are trying to get this down. Robert going for the shots. They win the game by going in through the front door. Over 80 minutes. Complexity takes down Curse.
Welcome to the LCS Preview Show. I'm Remington Bisson III, and it's good to have you back. Because in an alternate universe, that Complexity versus Curse match is still going on.
Just think of those sweet fantasy points the teams are racking up. I'm Joshua Jatt Leisman, and in this reality, the game did actually come to an end, and we're here to highlight that match along with the rest of the action in the LCS from Week 8.
That's right, and to kick things off, let's jet across the world to Cologne, Germany, and the European LCS. After 2 days and 8 games, there was plenty of intense fighting in the lanes to choose from, and we'll start with the Super Hot Crew versus Fnatic. Coming from this highlight, we start off just about 4 minutes and 15 seconds in. It didn't take too much time for these guys to get things started.
Speaking of being super hot, Fnatic was on a 4-game winning streak coming into this one, and they did not slow down right off the bat, so as breaking out the top lane Gragas and destroying that Mundo early on.
And just when Super Hot Crew thought they could get themselves back in the game, Fnatic makes it look tough.
Yeah, it's kind of the old classic Fnatic when they're at their best. Enemies have to take bigger risks, so when they do get a kill, Fnatic is able to punish.
And play after play, we'll see more of Yellowstar's Thresh later, but here's just one to initiate what would be the win coming in for Fnatic.
Look at that, 12 kills to 2. They're up 16,000 gold. Hook after hook from Yellowstar. Just classic Thresh play from him.
Very dominating game. This win put Fnatic at 12-7 as they start move up the ranks, and they're looking for that first place, as they always do at the end of the split.
A lot better than 7-7, that's for sure.
Up next, Millennium look to continue Alliance's losing streak. Figure that, you can go and say it. Well, Alliance hope to pick up a win here.
Yeah, I mean, right off the bat here, Wicked in the top lane, he was just trying to lane, minding his own business, but Kerp had other ideas.
Yeah, it took him 14 minutes, but they started to feed the fish very well, and it only became harder for Alliance after that.
Yeah, and Millennium plays pretty slow games. This is 52 minutes in, but the thing to watch here is Kerp, the guardian angel there on Fizz. Watch when he comes up. He ends this fight.
Instantly making the moves, playful and trickstery, if you will.
You could say that a few times. 20 kills after that fight, and man, they dragged that win out over Alliance. Alliance on a big slide.
Yeah, coming out of that one at 10-9, but on the flip side of the coin, now a 9-10 Roccat versus that sliding Alliance.
Yeah, and right here, this was just not a smart dragon play by Alliance. Shook got way too low, and Roccat was able to collapse on them and pick up a ton of kills.
Yeah, they are able to get so many from this. The social media was all over this game. Fans seeing their team slip. Alliance really not looking as good as they did in the beginning of the season.
No, monstrous lead here for Roccat. But then at one point we did end up seeing Alliance with a bit of a comeback. They just kept dying and dying and dying. This Baron play by Roccat, though, they made a mistake and Alliance was able to capitalize. Watch Frog, and it's off the screen, but he kills both of Rockat's carries.
It's exactly what the all-star player really leads himself to keep doing in all of these games. He is a key component for Alliance to keep the wins coming, and this 4-0 that they do pick up on Roccat at Baron, but Roccat would not give up after this.
Yeah, it was a minor setback because we have to remember what a absolutely gargantuan lead Roccat had coming into this, and the farm didn't go away when they died a few times. So this time Froggen doesn't get the perfect Yasuo ultimate, and no one touched Celiver, so he goes a little bit off.
Yeah, when you leave a Lucian free to play, especially Celiver, he's going to have a fine day. Picking up a nice triple kill for himself here. That's the ace on Alliance, and that's another win coming in against Alliance. 10-10 for Roccat. Huge plays there. 12-7 Fnatic versus an 11-8 SK. Two teams at the top. Fnatic's having a better ride, though, right now.
SK is the consistent team. Fnatic is the team that potentially has the higher ceiling. At least that's what all the Fnatic fans like to think. Big four-man dive at the start of the game there to get things started.
There's been a lot of big Gragas play that's changed games, so Fnatic did not want that to happen. And I said it before, there's the thresh again from Yellowstar, creating opportunities for Fnatic.
Yeah, and really this was a pretty sweet reckless play, all thanks to the start from Yellowstar getting him over the wall. But once he was unleashed and there was no real coordination to take him down, that Vayne still does some pretty big damage.
It's been a while since we've seen the Vayne, but she still brings that late game pain. So with Week 8 in the books for Europe, here's where the teams stand now. Even though Alliance is in free fall with a 4-game losing streak, they remain on top at 14-6. But Fnatic has decided to do that thing they do, where they turn things around at the last minute and win the split. So they are right behind Alliance in second at 13-7. And they are followed closely by a 2-way tie for third, where it has SK Gaming and the Super Hot crew tied up at 11-9. Now for a look at this week's roster rotations in the European LCS, let's head over to the man with the hair that never quits. How you doing, Quick Shot?
I'm great, Riv, and I really like your choice of shirt today. Looking dapper, my friend.
You're looking good indeed. So you have new players coming in this week. Who's making the changes?
Yeah, it's no real surprise. It's the bottom two teams, Riv. They've made the changes. Let's start with Gambit. Last week, they replaced both Diamond and Darien with Lulix and Cubon, respectively. And during the Gambit analyst AMA earlier this week, their analyst was saying that they were looking forward to having Cubon back, but there was no mention of Lulix. Shortly after that AMA, it was confirmed that Diamond would, in fact, be returning in what is arguably one of the shortest substitutions in LCS history. For the Copenhagen Wolves, they started the split with 2 brand new players, and they're making 2 more substitutions for this week. Both Airwax and Countard have been replaced by Broken Shard and Soren, respectively. Broken Shard, of course, coming from Complexity in North America, and Soren, who'll be filling in for Countard. Countard made it clear that he needed to step back. He needed to take a break. We'll see how we can fill in Countard's shoes. There's only 3 weeks left before the end of the split. It's not impossible for these teams to make playoffs, but it is very unlikely. So the more realistic assumption is that these teams are looking for a strong promotion tournament team. If you think back to the spring split where Millennium were in the same position, they made the substitute of RNA to Cottonex, and the team got stronger and stronger. They made strong sides in the summer split. Maybe Gambit and Wolves are looking to do the same.
And we'd also like to revisit our own mid-season report card from 2 weeks ago now. Here's what you said just before the Super Week in Week 7. 1, Fnatic was a big disappointment. Roccat was bad. Millennium was a pleasant surprise. And you named Tabs as the mid-season MVP. So let's do a report on your report card, starting with the Fnatic changes.
All right, so I stand by my original point. At the start of the split, Fnatic was a disappointment. I think more specifically, I did say that Fnatic were an inconsistent team, and they're consistently proving that they're an inconsistent team. To make more sense of that, if you look at their first 6 weeks of gameplay, they had a 50-50 win-loss ratio. They started Super Week losing 2 games, then winning 2 games, and every week after that, they won a game and they lost a game. So you never really knew which team was going to show up. But when the right version of the team did show up, they would dominate their opponents. And when their mirror universe selves would show up, well, we'd see things like that disastrous base race against Alliance. But ever since our Week 7 report card, from the time I said I was disappointed, Fnatic have not lost a single game. Pekka himself has said that drawing nearer to playoffs, the team has just got some new energy and some new focus. And it feels like Fnatic feels the pressure of playoffs, and they smell the allure of Worlds. And with that in mind, they've really taken their game to the next level.
All right, next up, let's talk about Roccat. You also called them a bit of a disappointment in our report card. Ouch.
Yeah, a bit of negativity. At that point, they were indeed a disappointment. They were the 3rd place team from the spring split playoffs. They were underperforming in the summer split, and they look lost. Right now, they have a 5-game winning streak. They have won 9 out of their last 12 games. And in the second half of the split, Roccat have just found life. I think it has to do with Veggie, their coach, living with them. He's back in the house. He's helping the team feel more prepared. He's finding the confidence in the players that they had lost between spring and summer. And Roccat are definitely on the upward trend.
And moving on in that report card, you also said that Millennium was a pleasant surprise. Has that changed?
It has changed, and I'm surprised they've not grown more as a team. They still rely heavily on one style of play, and it doesn't always work. If Millennium don't get kills, they don't get objectives. It is that simple. And the team is looking stronger, of course, than they were in spring. and they are in the running for a playoff position. But I wonder how far their reliance on their individual players and their importance on finding those kills, how far can it really carry them?
All right. And finally, let's take a look at Tabs, who you called the midseason MVP. Unfortunately, he's really struggled since then.
Yeah, he has struggled, but the whole team of Alliance has, I'm afraid. We've seen his KDA plummet. It was 6.3 in the first 3 weeks, down to 2.29 in week 8. To better quantify the drop, he gave up 19 deaths in his first 16 games. And in his last 4 matches, he has died 15 times. It is poor positioning. It is over-aggressive play. It's not having a front line from the rest of Alliance that are all contributing factors. Now, I am being a little overly harsh because I feel 4 bad games out of the whole split of 28 does not remove you from the running of the MVP title. So there is time for Tabs to get back to his pre-slump performances along with the rest of the team.
All right, thanks for the roster information and the updated grades, Professor Henry. We'll see you a bit later today. So Tabs underperforming highlights the issues that Alliance has been having, and they are showing all the signs of a team in triage. To find out if they can stop the bleeding, we're going to bring in Shox, who has been speaking with the players. Welcome back, Shox. Great to have you.
Always a pleasure, Riv.
So Alliance was well on their way to a record-setting season, but ever since losing a match to the Copenhagen Wolves during the last Super Week, the team has been flatlining. What have the players been saying?
Well, Riv, I decided to talk to the 2 guys that have played together the longest, Froggen and Wicked. About the current losses, Wicked says they didn't affect the team morale because they realized they lost due to them being in a slump, and that means they need to focus on getting back into shape. But the team wants to remain on top. Wicked says, and I quote, "Everyone on the team is very talented mechanically, so we're focusing on teamwork and mindsets. It's important to us that everyone is positive and focuses on the now and not on the past."
So how do they feel about Fnatic threatening their first place position now? And what are they planning to do for the rest of the split?
Well, when it comes to Fnatic, Wicked states the meta fits that team perfectly, and they were faster at adjusting to it in a short term. But now that Alliance has adjusted as well, he doesn't think that Fnatic has the edge over them anymore. Froggen agrees that Fnatic's strength is meta-related, saying, with the way European teams play, they might have the edge in the current patch just because kills are rewarded more than they were earlier in the split. As far as the rest of the season goes, Alliance is not worried. Wicked said, "Worlds is something I haven't thought about too much yet because it doesn't matter until we qualify, and I don't want to waste time on focusing on something I don't have to." Froggen is a bit less descriptive and simply said, "Even though we're on a 2-game losing streak, we are still number 1, and that is what matters. I don't want to comment on Worlds until we actually qualify." And I'm still quoting Froggen here, no jinxerino.
All right, Shox, thanks for hitting up Alliance and getting their take on the second half of their slump, or summer slump. The European teams will have a chance to change those standings right after the preview show concludes. Week 9 will begin with the Super Hot Crew taking on Roccat as both teams hope to climb the ranks. And on Friday, the Copenhagen Wolves will try to pull themselves out of the relegation zone as they face SK Gaming, and the day will conclude with Gambit trying to do the same against Fnatic. So now let's trip the light fantastic and check in on the studs, duds, and thuds from the Fantasy LCS with Chat.
Thanks, Raven. With 8 weeks of Fantasy LCS, we've seen some surprises, like the entire roster that went from a dud to a stud last week. First up, it is Roccat. If we look at Celiver and Vander, these guys both stepped up substantially. Vander saw 250 more points than he was estimated to have, and Millennium's top laner Kevin had the most fantasy points for a player in Week 8, which is incredible coming from a top laner. But as you have studs, you also have to make some room for the duds, and this European lineup of SK Gaming was awful last week. 3 points for N-rated, 5.9 for Svenskeren, and 8 points for SK Gaming as a whole. And you think it was just Europe that had a bad fantasy performance? Not really so. North America had their SK Gaming impersonators last week as well. Unfortunately, it was Dignitas. 3.2 points for Kiwi Kid, 6.7 for Crumbs, and a dismal 10 points for the overall team score. Definitely didn't want to have Dignitas players on your team last week. But let's look forward to this next week and check out a couple sleepers. Kevin, sure, he was the top scoring player last week, but he's playing SK Gaming and Roccat, 2 probably very long games, which does mean a large chunk of fantasy points. Celiver as well looks to continue his hot streak. Look at the teams he's playing against. He should be successful. And also Altec, he has a 5.8 KDA against CLG and Dignitas. And as far as sleepers are concerned, he's only being started in 14% of the league, so get on it. But we also have to talk about fantasy alerts for the next week. Airwalks, is benched, if you missed it. Coutard is also taking some time off. They do not get any points. Players who don't play can't earn fantasy points. It's science. Diamond is also back in the lineup, but he wasn't performing before he came in, or before he was benched. So when he comes back, there's no guarantee he'll be doing well. And Darian is still benched, but being started in 30% of leagues out there. So even though feeding to win was a strategy for him, that only gives you points if he's playing. He's on the bench. And remember, last week I told you that Curse would be a good sleeper pick. And if you remember, we had a little wager between myself and the stat master Claky D about how Curse would perform. So we turned to you on Twitter to see who was right. So, who won? Well, here are those of you who supported my choice. Thank you for all of those, and clearly it's not even a contest. We were talking about fantasy points. Every one of their players went above and beyond and pulled in nearly 50 points more than their estimated total. Thank you to all those tweets. It's very clear that this is...
All right, I'm breaking in here. When I said Curse would get crushed, that's what I meant. And when the team did get crushed, here are the tweets I received to back me up. I'd like to thank all of you for supporting me, especially my #1 fan, Rivington Bislin III, and American Parrot.
It's a good list of names you got there. It's a really, really long video you made.
That's besides the point, Jat. They lost both of their games, had low KDAs, and didn't even hit their estimated fantasy total as a team. The only reason they pulled in those player points was because they played the equivalent of 4 matches, which was an anomaly. So unless you replaced every single person on your fantasy roster with a member of Curse, which would be crazy, you wouldn't have reaped the benefits.
I mean, you call it crazy. I had 4 Curse members playing against you, and I beat you by like 100 points.
But the bet was whether Curse would crush or be crushed.
Yeah, in fantasy points.
You're a fantasy point.
Whoa, all right, gentlemen, hold up here. Okay, so I'm gonna step in. Technically, Jat was right. We're gonna give you that right now.
All
Securing his spot as our fantasy guru, yes, that happened. But it is up for debate among the staff, and we want you to help decide. So in the end, turn your tweets once again to @LOLesports, and if you think Jat nailed it, tweet, Jat is right. And if you think Clark had his stats ruled and he won the challenge, tweet, Claky D was right. And whoever gets the majority of your support will have the pleasure of making their rival wear one of these fashionable and lovely t-shirts on the next week's show. So tweet now and tweet often, and we'll see who struts away with the new look on next week's show. So now let's set aside our differences and hit /all on your keyboards. Listen in as the players reveal their innermost selves to us. Yeah. It's time for All Chat.
Sarah.
Yo.
I love you.
Thank you.
Wow. No love back.
Get rejected, son.
Can we all be pyramids for today? I feel like we don't win because we don't have matching icons.
Yeah.
We got
Lulu. Finish.
I have Cleaver in a second.
Give me the
Lulu's Cleaver.
Yeah.
Give me the Penta. No. Stop. Nice. I have J.
Finish. Can we end? I think we should. We can join you soon. Okay. Who's gonna defend this? Kog'Maw without flash?
All we have to do is play the map and then map the plays.
That's actually correct.
Don't overcommit on kills, objectives over kills.
Yeah, I don't have ult, so be careful, don't fight. We're going for just objectives. No fights.
Need to be a lot more coordinated.
Yeah. But can we Nestor then?
No.
Don't get too
Way too early.
Don't get too
Way too early.
excited. Can we go for base race?
No, we lose.
So what? We lose anyway. We have to try. Maybe they will panic.
No.
Yes.
Keep him busy. Right cog.
I'm going.
Right cog. Go for the in. Keep Robert alive. Everyone off Robert. Someone get in front of Dom.
Yeah.
Oh, hit base.
I'm hitting it.
Everyone hit base. Just hit base. Ignore
Me and Polly, we wrote a song.
I heard. You don't have to tell me.
Don't be front son, no seeds on the bun. We be up in this drive-through. Order for 2. I got a craving for a number 9 like my shoe.
Maybe I should go into voice acting and then cosplaying.
There's no way you think Cyanide sister is hotter than mine.
What about my sister?
Oh, my sister beats your sister, 100%. My sister beats your sister, 100%.
Oh man, I hope they don't put that in the thing.
The sister wars are real. So, all right, last week we only had one new champion kick it into overdrive and power their way into the summer split. But hey, that still counts. So let's take a look at the champion countdown. J-Ree busted out some Blitzcrank when he picked the great Steam Golem and helped Rocket grab a combined 9, 3, and 16 for Millennium's bottom lane as they beat first place Alliance. That brings us to 66 champions picked this summer, with no hope of catching up to the 84 we had in the spring split by week 9, that's for sure. So we were also impressed when those of you out there managed to predict the next champion to be played, and 2 of you out there nailed it. Both Agent Throde and your mom, yes, your mom, managed to name Blitzcrank as the newest addition to the champ pool in the LCS. But one of you out there also has psychic powers. El Spieltuk was able to not only pick out Blitzcrank, but he also named Millennium's J-Ree as the player who would pick him. That's some pretty impressive stuff. Spiel, you might want to think about moving to New York and opening up a school for gifted youngsters. Just saying. There's still some time for you to turn your powers of mental prowess to the LCS and tell us who you think will be the next champion to make their appearance for the first time this summer. Just tweet your predictions to @LOLEsports and be sure to use the hashtag LCSPREVIEW as usual. And while you're busy tweeting your choices, let's look back at week 8 and start the highlights off with the 6 and 12 complexity versus the 8 and 10 curse. What's going to happen here?
Yeah, surely nothing remarkable. It is just a complexity.
Oh, that's right.
2 teams near the bottom of the stands. You wouldn't think. That was a nice gank, actually.
That was. The Wombo combo starts things off, so you get your blood going, right? It puts the bar up there, but can we raise the bar?
Dominate started this game so well, but then he's level 18 before he sees the next great gank, 55 minutes in, and Curse actually appears to be making their move.
Oh, then it must be over soon, because this fight just seems like somebody would push to the base. Take it out.
Don't go much longer than 60 minutes.
No, not at all.
Curse gets a lot of kills, and then they've been at it for a while, so they're trying to end the game here because they had been pushed back to their base for quite some time. This, though, is a real dangerous move. That's a big crocodile coming out of the base.
They get a good 2-for-0, do this push down mid, but then it gets a little scary. Curse always wanting too much, kind of falls back into their bad habits.
Yeah, this is such a crazy game. Cop was playing quite well. He had a really nice flash over the wall earlier. Yeah. His fantastic Borrow-Arcane barrages, and he hits the last one with his last bit of mana. You would think that Westeros ended up killing him. No, Cop got away.
No, Cop's Cogbot was godlike at that point, but at 81 minutes, Robert Exley and Bubba go mission impossible after the fight starts on the left side of the screen, and they go sneak.
Watching that again, it's remarkable that Bubba got out of that alive. Sonya's plus the spell vamp.
I said he was going down.
Ultimate kept him up, and then Robert Exley finds a sneak attack to the Nexus. Oh, you can't hit it anymore. That's because Westeros killed the inhibitor.
In the last moment, the wow,
what a game, wow. It's pretty much what we were saying.
That's what we were saying indeed, with a few other obviously choice words, but a great game coming out there for Complexity to take the win. Our next highlight featured the first of our tiebreaker matches, going for first place, LMQ versus Dig.
Yeah, and LMQ was 0-2 against Dignitas, and not in close games, mind you, coming into this one. But boy, did they look like a team possessed here.
Really great games of what they could do, but it was all about Vasily bringing out that Tristana.
It really was
his main champ.
5-0-4 before this fight, and he took over the game. You often don't see AD carries take over the game like Vasily did here, but he was just all over the place. Fastest game of the North American LCS this year was that victory by LMQ.
It's been something we've been waiting to see from that team, and they're starting to bring it out even more. Up next, we are going to have Dignitas facing off against CLG.
That move.
Another
Link
one of our
a little bit
classic
too
games.
close to the wall, not health potting up as much as he needed to, but who expects Thresh to be in that wall?
I would against Dignitas. Kiwikin's roam always coming so early, but you also have to expect Alframu hitting the max range bindings after flashing, also making plays.
A lot of supports wouldn't even think to make that play. Alframu actually pulled it off.
How about another one?
Right onto Crumbs. And this was CLG just running a train over Dignitas. A bad week for Dignitas, 2 quick losses.
And despite a good start for Dig there, it was just too much on double lift. He came through. Yeah. Cloud9 versus Team Solo Mid in our next highlight that we look at. Just a minute and 30 in. That's all it took for them to want to focus down Mundo in the top lane. 4 balls.
Yeah, and TSM is really rewriting the book about their history against Cloud9 this split. They'd pretty much never beaten them aside from one time, and they've already beaten them the split, plus up 7-1 coming into this fight.
7-1, and Wild Turtle finds that as a window. He puts on the shell, he goes deep, and it looks like it kind of gets chaotic here, but in the end, he looks for 4 and he gets it.
Sneaky got so low, there was nothing to keep Wild Turtle back in this fight. Because of this, actually, Demon ended up beating me in fantasy. He had Wild Turtle.
Ooh, and because of that, TSM still on the rise, and Cloud9 continues to struggle. So as the North American teams continue to jostle and jockey for position at the top of the standings, things remain pretty tight for now. LMQ and CLG remain tied in first, with TSM right behind them in third place.
And Cloud9 and Dig are tied up for fourth, just one game back, as Curse, Complexity, and EG round out the bottom of the table.
And if you were watching the North American LCS last week, then you might have noticed that one of our games was slightly longer than normal, or else you tuned in at different times throughout the day for that match and wondered why we were forcing Complexity and Curse to keep playing against each other in back-to-back games.
Yeah, but it was actually just a single game, and it was the longest game ever. At 1 hour and 20 minutes, it lasted longer than any match in LCS history, and then some. And we all know that long games mean broken records, and here are some of the achievements picked up in that match specifically. Complexity picked up the most gold in a single game with nearly 130,000. Quas also didn't die the entire 80 minutes. Robert X. Lee grabbed the most CS in a single match with 709. And while on that farming streak, he also managed to pocket 31.9 thousand gold, the most for a single player in one game. To put that into perspective, he could have actually purchased some ridiculous things. If the game allowed him to, he could have had 8 Trinity Forces, or 29 Zeals, or most importantly, what everyone should have done, 901 health potions and a crystalline flask. That would be quite a party.
And it was definitely a match for the books. And while we can't track this particular stat, it's probably some sort of LCS record as well. After the game, Probably tweeted, "Fun fact, I had to pee at the beginning of Champion Select." Hoping it wasn't a long game. Probably, we salute you and your OP bladder. So we'll see if even more records get broken when the North American LCS picks back up with Week 9 beginning on Saturday. The action begins with Curse facing Team Dignitas, and a victory here will help Curse begin to pull themselves out of the bottom of the table.
And on Sunday, 4 more matches will be heading your way, including a battle for control of first place as LMQ and CLG square off.
And before today's European LCS matches begin in just a few moments, let's pause and remember the big plays from Week 8, or as Prolly's bladder calls it, the Pinta.
Coming in at number 5, it's Void Boy and Owl Dominate with the Stealth Ball Observer System on Who Else.
Combo off. Oh, they do! Wombo combo indeed. Served up just right. Look at Dominate. He's loving it.
At number 4, Cop can't be stopped as he flashes back in for the double kill and the
Rice
ace.
has been able to slice and dice at least 3 times in this fight. It has gone so long. A great job by Kaz. Throws down more. Cobb still staying alive. One last shot. A few more for West Rice. The Acathian surprise. If nothing will take him down. And Cobb is going to stay alive in the fight.
Big win out here. He flashes over the wall away from Kez. He avoids the CC, and he just runs barely out of range.
And at number 3, it's Kiwi Kid with a huge catch from over the wall.
Kiwi Kid with the hook. Are they going for a kill?
Oh, what an amazing play. Kiwi Kid roams down to the top lane. Well set by Dignitas.
Coming in at number 2, it was Kerps Gragas with the huge play.
So low and Limited fancies it, and he may well get it. Oh, the Sonic Wave! Belly slammed away there. The ultimate comes out from Connex. He's going to take a lot of the golden airwax this time around. Kerp is running for his life, and he may well be able to get away. He goes back aggressive onto Unlimited, takes him down. The Summoner Heal comes out, and Kerp gets away with it like a big fat lad.
And your number 1 play this week resulted in a big surprise for Cutie Pie from LMQ's Ackerman.
Just hang it out. I just saw that. And he is getting experience right. This could be genius. This is
the level.
And he's level 2, so now he can skill up his E to potentially make an escape. But Cubican doesn't really have a reason to stand in that brush.
He literally has been in with 2 inches the entire time of Cutie Pie in this farming. How much patience do you have? That must be a full keg. I've never seen someone standing still be so interesting.
I've never seen this before. It's incredible.
Oh, he gets it finally! Where did he just come from? Wow! Batman sprouted out of the brush.
What a day.
I've been lucky enough to not run into that in solo queue lately.
Yeah, I think everyone's going to be checking that brush. I'm just waiting for 5 people to be waiting there.
Cutie Pie warded it right when he came back. So if you want to relive your favorite moments from today's preview show or catch up on all of the past LCS action in bite-sized chunks, head over to LOLesports.com.
Yeah, at the top of each page, you'll find the preview show hub that will take you to a grid of all the past episodes, not unlike Bruce Wayne's creepy surveillance monitors in The Dark Knight.
And soon you'll find this episode there as well. And that does it for this week's preview show. And before our counterparts in Europe take over, let's check out the end of that epic battle between Complexity and Kirch, which shows off why eloquence and command of the English language are 2 skills in every caster's toolkit, and also in today's last hit.
A giant meteor hits the ground. Oh, there they go for it, Robert!
Oh my, Bubba does immediately. He does get the probably also needs to his. Everybody's trying to go for the fast, and if it's you're gonna be on the they could look to do they see they got a Nexus to end the game. This is gonna be a through the door. They are trying to get this Robert going for the he's got a black to stay alive. He still has no actually. A few more, they the game by going in through the door. Over 80 complexity takes down.
You guys at home, you deserve everybody.